Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, Finding Yourself Again. My name's Dontre, and with this channel, this is an introductory video of me letting you guys know what this channel is going to be about. In this channel, there's going to be an emphasis on hope, healing, and recovery from toxic abuse, whether narcissistic abuse or personality disorder abuse, basically any form of abuse that you have experienced in life. And this is going to be a safe place for encouragement and basically support and recovery tips, things like that. A little bit about me. I am a recovering abuse victim from an individual that has a personality disorder. I was with somebody for 5 years that had a personality disorder, and I went through the roller coaster, just like most of you guys have in life. It's not pretty, and it does a lot of damage mentally and emotionally, and in my case, physically. I got physically abused as well. I just want my followers, my subscribers, anybody that comes across this channel to know that there is happiness. Happiness is a possibility after toxic abuse. I know that for me, I always question, am I ever going to be happy again? And I also had a personality issue, which is weird because I don't have a personality disorder myself, but it seems almost like the person that had the personality disorder that I was with affected me. And once I broke the relationship off with her, I realized that I don't exactly know who I am, and maybe I did before I got in the relationship. I can't really tell because I really wasn't in the right state of mind then. But now that I'm in a clear, sober state of mind, I can look back on times, and I realized that after I got out of that relationship, I didn't really know who I was. I didn't really, I knew my interests were still the same. I just didn't really feel like doing them. But I lost a lot about myself. I couldn't go to the grocery store alone. I couldn't go to the drive-thru alone. I mean, anybody that watches these videos, share your experience. What have you experienced like me, when it comes to these type of relationships with people? They're really damaging, and they're really, you really do have to survive through these relationships. And I want you to know that it's possible to be happy again. You might be wondering what toxic abuse is. Not everybody, believe it or not, knows what toxic abuse is. So I'm going to go ahead and list out some things. And obviously it could be more, it could be less. But these things are going to be manipulation, gaslighting, physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse. You know what those things are. Putting their hands on you, lying to you, manipulating you, telling you that you're crazy for thinking whatever you're thinking when you know that you're not, gaslighting. A lot of times these people have impulses like cheating. They'll go and cheat, and then you try to set a boundary with them and they keep crossing the boundary. Just very toxic people. And I'm empathetic towards everybody, you know. So the person that I was with at the time, I knew that she had a really hard upbringing with a lot of different abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, and some of it involved a family member, her mother, and it affected her, you know, and I know that it did, and I almost gave her a crutch for that behavior some of the times, you know. Oh, this person went through a lot growing up, so, you know, they don't mean it or whatever. And the thing is, you know, whether they mean to harm you, whether it's intentional or unintentional, it's still not okay, and it's still hurting you, you know. So I went through all the, you know, I went through the, at first, you know, they do this thing where they love bomb you, and they give you all this flatter and love, and they're all over, they always want to be around you, and then they start to do something where they start to devalue you, and they start to kind of push you away. There's distance, you know, they start to say some mean things here and there, stuff like that. Then comes the discard. And that's where, at this point, they've already found another source of supply. You know, if you've watched other videos, you already know what I'm talking about. A supply is just a new shoe, you know, for lack of a better term. Like, you know, this new source of supply makes me feel a lot better than the old supplies. So what I'm gonna do is put, you know, they put people like me and you on the shelf when we've been there for a while. For example, and this can take years, you know. Like, I was with my ex for 5 years, and it's been about 1.5 years since I haven't been with her anymore. But you know, I recall when, you know, in the beginning there was the love bombing, and then, you know, over time, you know, things would be all my fault, you know. That's the devaluing. Oh, this is your fault, and, you know, this is because of you, you know, saying things like that. And then eventually came the discard, and what that was just like the cold shoulder. You get like a lot of silent treatment, there's a lot of distance, and a lot of time this is the point where they will just find another source of supply if they don't already have several. You know, these people normally have at least one or multiple sources of supply of other people that they talk to consistently to try to keep keep themselves feeling great and feeling good. It's almost, I would say it's a necessity for people with narcissistic personality disorder, borderline, and other personality disorders. It's not just those two, there's also others. So yeah, I ended up, in my situation, the person I was with ended up contacting a former boyfriend or fling or whatever that was actually incarcerated at the time in prison. And I ended up catching on to it. You know, she was being distant and stuff like that. And, you know, long story short, I ended up reading some messages. I seen that she was love bombing him, and I started to look up videos, you know, myself, and start to learn like what is going on in my life, you know. And it's funny because originally most of you are probably going to be looking things up on YouTube, such as how do I save my relationship, you know, stuff like that, which is what I was doing at a certain time. Like, how do I save this? How do I keep this from collapsing? Because I love the person that I'm with. And I assumed that she loved me, but now I can see that it was really a mask, you know. And it was really like I fell in love with myself, you know, because when these people, they don't really have a personality, right? They have a personality problem. They have a personality disorder. So they don't really have their own identity. So what they do is they'll grab onto other people that they like, and that they, you know, and they could be good people or they could be bad people, to each his own. That could be subjective to everybody, but they cling on to different people that they can kind of get some supply from. And I was one of them. I was one of those people. And what they do is they mimic the person that they choose. So they it's like a mirror of you. You know what I mean? So of course you're probably going to fall in love with yourself, because of course you probably would. But so I thought that was interesting, and I think it's important for you guys to know that too. um I'm going to talk about a lot of different red flags when you're dealing with a toxic person. That way you can understand how to stay away from these type of people and how to be in a healthy relationship. Ultimately, my channel is about finding you, finding yourself, loving yourself. What does that look like? How do you love yourself? How do you have self-compassion? These are all things that I'm going to cover in this channel. What do I look out for in a toxic person? How do I stay away from these type of people? How do I interact with a toxic person that I have to interact with and I don't have a choice? I'm going to cover all of that stuff in my channel. I think now that I have the knowledge that I have learned over years, over a couple years now, I think that I want to help other people. I want to help other people just like me, in particular as well, even men, because I know that a lot of women already go to these channels for support and stuff, but I don't see a lot of men coming to these channels for support and help. And I was one of those men that went through abuse. So I want everybody, men and women, to know that this channel is for you. I care about you. I have empathy for you and understanding for what you have been through. I know a lot of people, especially even family, do not understand what it's like to go through a toxic relationship, this kind of toxic relationship, at least. It's different than just a bad one. This one is far more sinister than that, and you would know. That's probably why you're watching these videos. So what else would I like to say? I'm not a mental health professional. I am just a survivor of toxic abuse, and I'm here to shine a light to help others to get through this. I have been seen by a mental health professional, and I have therapy consistently. I would encourage anybody that has been through any type of toxic abuse to seek therapy. And if you do not have the means to do so, you can always contact 988, which is a suicide and crisis hotline, where you can talk to somebody and call them and discuss your issues and come up with some coping ways to cope and stuff like that to help you get through whatever you're going through. So yeah, at the end of the day, this channel is going to be about hope, healing, and recovery from toxic abuse, from different personality disorders. And it doesn't even, you don't even have to have a personality disorder. This is just for any survivor that has been through abuse. I hope you appreciate this content. If you do, consider liking, consider subscribing. That would extremely help me out. This channel means a lot to me. I put my heart into this channel. I put my thought into this channel because I have been there. I have experienced everything from the beginning to the end, not wanting to leave, even though I know it's toxic, giving them chances, eventually going no contact, and eventually being able to get to a place in life where I have happy moments again. Obviously, not everything is perfect. I'm not perfect. Life isn't perfect. But the subject of this channel is to help you heal and recover and find you. So I'll see you in the next videos. Like I said, if you enjoy this content, if you enjoy this video, please give me a like. Please consider subscribing. Thank you. You have a great day, and know that you are not alone. You are not alone in dealing with surviving toxic abuse. You're not alone if you're still in a toxic relationship. You're not alone if you're in the beginning of the no contact phase. I have been in all of these weird different phases and scenarios, and I'm going to address it. So thank you for your time. You have a blessed day.